Section 2.2 Interactive Assignment Objective 6. The data below represent the per capita average disposable income after taxes for 25 randomly selected cities in a recent year. What we want to do is we want to be able to describe the shape of the distribution. So we need to create a histogram. Now in our previous exercises, in order for us to create a histogram, we need to create a distribution that has classes. So in this particular problem, we're going to use StatCrunch to do that. Before we do that, let's go over the definitions. So recall that in a uniform distribution, the frequency of each value of the variable is evenly spread out across the values of the variable. So if you look at this first one, this one represents the uniform, which is symmetric. Now in a bell-shaped distribution, the highest frequency occurs in the middle, and the frequencies tail off to the left and the right of the middle. So if you look here, this is a bell-shaped distribution. Again, tailing off to the left and tailing off to the right. Now, in a skewed right distribution, the tail to the right of the peak is longer than the tail to the left of the peak. So in this case here, if you look at this distribution, you can see that the tail is longer on the right, and that's why that is skewed right. Now, in a skewed left distribution, the tail to the left of the peak is longer than the tail to the right. So therefore, this is our skewed left distribution. Now, to describe the shape of the distribution, we first construct a frequency histogram of the data. Now, a histogram is constructed by drawing rectangles for each class of data. For a frequency histogram, the height of each rectangle is the frequency of the class. The width of each rectangle is the same, and the rectangles touch each other. We're going to use 30,000 as the lower limit of the first class and a class width of 6,000. Well, the reason why we're using 30,000 for this data is because the smallest number is 30,301. So we're going to use 30,000 and use a class width of 6,000. So let's go back to the problem, and we're now going to look this icon here to the right. We're going to click on that, and then we're going to open up our data in StatCrunch. Okay, now we're given the data. So what we want to do is we're going to come over here and select Graph, and then we're going to come down here and select Histogram. Okay, and then we're going to select our column called Variable 1, so we're going to go ahead and make sure it's selected over here. Okay, and then down here what we want is a frequency because it's asking us to find the distribution, so the shape of the distribution. So now we're going to select our bins. So remember here that we're starting at 30,000. Okay, and then the width we're going to use 6,000. Okay, and then if we want, we can put the value above the bar, but it doesn't necessarily matter here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go down here, and then we're just going to select Compute. And so now what it's done is it's created a histogram. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the histogram here. Okay. So we're going to put our histogram, and then we're going to look at that and see what this data gives us. So as you can see here, we have our class here, a class here. We don't have a class here, then we have that there. Now, if we would draw a distribution, we can see that it starts up pretty high, and then it starts getting lower, and then down here, and then it starts tailing off to the right. So if it's tailing off to the right, what does that tell us? Well, that looks like it is skewed right. So coming back to our answer, we're going to select skewed right, checking our answer, and therefore we've got our answer.